All right, everybody, hello and welcome back. Today what we're going to do some quick examples on writing the equation of quadratic functions given some information. Now, the information that we are provided is going to be very telling onto how we want to write the equations. So let me give you our first example. Let's dive right in here. This problem says write the equation of a quadratic that has a vertex of -1, -3, and passes through the point 1, 5. Now, the key information that they're giving us is the vertex. What that means is we are going to want to write in vertex form. If they're giving us that information, we can get closer to our equation by starting there. So vertex form looks like this, where h is our x value and k is our y value. So if I just plug these in, we get y equals a times x minus a -1 is going to turn to a +1. And then we will have -3 at the end. Now, we're actually almost done. We have everything we need except for our a value, and that's when this extra point comes into play. I'm going to need to solve this equation to find a, but I can't do it right now because there is a y value I don't know, an a value I don't know, and an x. But using the point that I'm given, I can plug these values in. And what happens there is 5 equals a times 1 plus 1 squared minus 3. As you can see, the only variable I have left is a, so I can now solve for it. 5 equals a times 2 squared minus 3. 5 equals a times 4 minus 3. Now, I've seen this a couple times, and we cannot combine these two values. The a and the 4 are being multiplied, so that means that has to happen first. So I'm going to add my 3 over and add it over. We get 8 equals, technically this is 4a. If I just divide by 4, I get a equals 2. Technically, we had 2 equals a, if that makes a difference for anybody. So we found our a value, so I can now go back to my equation before, and I can just plug in my new a value with all of the previous information I already had. And that is my equation of a quadratic that goes through the point 1, 5 and has a vertex of -1, -3. Okay, very straightforward. Again, most of your problems are going to look like this depending on what you're given. We are going to plug into vertex form if we're given the vertex, and then we're going to use the other point we're given to plug back in, solve for a, so we get our full equation on the side. Now, the only other different type of problem we could see is an equation like this, or a problem like this. It says, write the equation of a quadratic that has x-intercepts of -2, 0, 4, 0, and passes through the point 0, -8. Now, we're given different information here. We are given x-intercepts. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to write into intercept form. Again, I'm using the information that they've provided me with to make my job easier. So I'm going to plug in my -2 for P, plug in my 4 for Q, and I will end up with y equals a times x. So minus a -2 is a +2. And then we'll have x minus 4. Again, we are almost done. The only difference here is we're in a different form. But again, I still know what my a value is, and I can't solve for it right now because I have y's, a's, and x's that I don't know. Well, given that we are passing through 0, -8, I can plug in the y value of -8, leave a the way it is, and then for my x value, I am going to plug in 0. Now, some students forget to plug it in for both x values. But essentially what any point is we have an input here. When we plug it in for all of the x's, we get our output. So we got to remember that 0 will be each of my x values. And now we solve. -8 equals a times 2 times -4. negative 8 equals a times negative 8. And the only way that this works is if my a value is 1. So we're going back to what we had here before, but now I plug in an a value of 1. I don't really need to write the 1, but we can if we want. And this is my equation in intercept form. This is the equation of a quadratic that passes through the x-intercepts in -2, 4, and has a point of 0, -8. Okay, it's essentially as simple as these problems get, as challenging as these problems get. They all should be very similar to this. So as always, thank you for listening. If you have any questions or concerns, please feel free to reach out.